thank you so much for joining us today. I know that you've got a lot going on, and so I really appreciate you taking time to tell us a little bit about your story and share with people who might not know you very well your experience with sudden cardiac arrest. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, ma'am. So I'm Grant Tribolet. I'm from Dallas, Texas. Currently, I just finished my freshman year at Clemson University. Hence, that's where the orange is right there. And then I'm a big golfer, and so my major is actually professional golf management and business. So had a lot of fun freshman year, got a lot of golf under my belt, met a lot of new people. It was a ton of fun. But more into the heart aspect. So I was around 2 when my mom had my sister, and she all of a sudden, started exhibiting a lot of, kind of heart issues, related symptoms. And it was a whole ordeal. And then so the doctor said after my sister was born at age 5, I was going to be screened. And turned out at age 5, I was diagnosed with left ventricular non-compaction. And so I was taken out of sports, taken out of everything. I could only really play baseball, golf, and if I wanted to play football, I could only really be the kicker. So I played baseball and golf for pretty much all of my life. And then at age 12, Christmas Day, I had a sudden cardiac arrest and collapsed. And my cousin saw the whole thing, and she went and screamed, "Aunt Corey, Grant's, acting funny. We don't know what's going on." And so my mom, full doctor mode, went in there, and she performed CPR and saved my life. And so after about 2 weeks after that, a defibrillator was implanted in me. And then things were smooth, things were fine up until about sophomore year. Christmas Day, once again, I had another, turns out it wasn't a cardiac arrest again, but I had a, I can't remember what my mom calls it. It's, I just had a low blood pressure induced seizure. And once again, I had to go in, they checked my defibrillator, all was okay. So that's kind of my brief history.
Okay. So I want to backtrack and talk about your mom. So your mom was diagnosed. Can you repeat the name of what she was diagnosed with and what that is if you're familiar with it?
Yeah, so it's called left ventricular non-compaction. And what that means is the left ventricle, the way my doctor describes it is, think of when you're swimming and your fingers are like this, so that'll help you swim faster. This is the normal muscle. This is the normal ventricle. And ours, it's more like this. So you're swimming like this, and it's a lot weaker. And the big fear with us is that there's going to get blood clots in between the muscle walls or fibers. I'm not, in the medicine, so I don't really know. But that's the big issues with what we have. And so we have to we just can't be as active as most kids. That's why I couldn't do football or hockey, because we're a big hockey family. And soccer, basketball, is because my heart just wasn't strong enough to keep up with the other kids.
You were aware of this from a young age. Did doctors ever explain to you that sudden cardiac arrest was, a concern, something that you should be aware of as you grew up? Or when this happened to you, when sudden cardiac arrest happened, was it a shock to you and your whole family?
So our entire life is in the medical part is we've always been preparing for the worst. And actually, sudden cardiac arrest was kind of towards the bottom of the food chain. And around age 9, the bigger concern was actually heart transplant. And so we've prepared for the worst. And I don't want to say it wasn't a shock, because it's never good to have your son collapse on Christmas Day.
Of course.
But it wasn't what we expected. But it was a shock, yes.
I want to hear about the day that you actually collapsed. Leading up to it, did you experience any symptoms? Was there anything that led you to believe that it would be anything other than a normal day?
That morning, I woke up, I wasn't feeling great. Like I felt like I almost was like lagging, if that makes sense. Like it just, like everything, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it well, but I just wasn't feeling great. but now that feeling, it's like low blood pressure for me. So like if I'm feeling low, I'll just say, Mom, check my pulse. And so she'll be like, yeah, you're low. You need to have like a Gatorade or something. So that's what it felt like on Christmas Day, but like times 1,000. I mean, I just felt miserable. I just felt strung out. I was just pale, just was not. And so, I mean, I knew I wasn't feeling great, but I didn't know this was going to happen.
So when you actually collapsed, do you have any memory of what was going on beforehand? Who was around you? What was the scenario like when that moment actually happened?
So it was me and the younger cousins were going to go into the kids' room at grandma's house, and we were going to, hang out and play on the Wii. And I went to go grab a bite to eat, and then I walked to the kids' room, and as soon as I walked, like I stepped into the doorway, it went black. So what happened is when I walked in, this is what my cousin said, I turned, and the room, there were two twin beds perpendicular to the doorway. So I walked in, I turned, I like kind of fell down on the bed, I bounced off, and there was like a little bedside table, and it was like thick and dense wood. And so I hit my head on the top part and then the bottom part, and then I started shaking. And that's when my cousin was like, he's weird, I'm gonna go get Aunt Corey. And so she went and got my mom, and my mom, I mean, I think the time I hit my head and started shaking to the time my mom started performing CPR had to be in under 5 minutes.
Once you're in the hospital, what did treatment look like from there on out?
So it was kind of two parts. So the first part was after the event, which is, I was in the hospital for about 3 days. It was more of like they were just kind of monitoring me. They had me, I mean, every test you could think of, EKG, echo. I didn't do a stress test, but I did everything with cords and the monitor I was on. And once they released me from the hospital, they gave me, it was like a little, like a little monitor that like I had to wear like a satchel. And if my heart rate got over a certain, it would monitor me, and I had the little sticky things on my chest. And if it got over a certain BPM, I would have to like pause and press these two buttons on the side saying that I'm okay, that it was just me, running. Next part of treatment, and I had that vest on for probably a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And then the next part of the treatment was the defibrillator, and I was in the hospital for maybe a day and a half. And I mean, and if anybody has a defibrillator, they know when you get it, you can't really move this. It's right here. You can't really move this arm. So I had to do like kind of makeshift physical therapy. Like I had to do wall walk, I had to walk up and down the wall. I mean, it was kind of hurt, but no, that was the extent of my treatment. And then for it was probably I think it's 6 weeks. I had to have somebody carry my backpack for me at school. Like I couldn't carry my own stuff because it was, you want the wire to set in and latch onto the wall of your heart. And so I couldn't lift anything for 6 weeks.
This happens when you're 12 years old. Is that correct? And have another episode when you're a sophomore in school. Since that point, have you had any recurring issues? Is it something that is consistent for you, or have you not had any issues since?
No, it was Christmas Day of 2013 and then Christmas Day of whatever would have been 2016. I mean, it was just those 2 days. I mean, every other day I've been fine. Yeah.
And Christmas on both of them.
I mean, come on.
I'm sure your family is like a little bit afraid of Christmas now.
Well, no, I'm kind of afraid of Christmas. And then my mom just was saying, what we're going to do is we're going to randomly surprise you with your Christmas presents any day before Christmas. So, I mean, you don't have any reason to be excited on Christmas.
How have you been able to kind of juggle these things and make sure that you're staying healthy while also being an athlete?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard because first of all, obviously I want to play football. I want to do all the things the normal kids can't. But I mean, at some point I just had to say, it's not going to happen. And so I think a lot of it is I just had to accept it. There wasn't much I can do. I just had to I had to find the pleasure in the things that I could do, which is why I'm so that's why I'm so engrossed in golf, and why it's such a big part of my life, is because it was one of the things I can do. Like, I don't feel like the kid with heart failure, or the kid that had a sudden cardiac arrest. It's Grant. It's not, anybody else. And so, and that's just kind of how it's been, is I've had to, as my mom says, find the little things in life that will make you happy. I'm fortunate enough to not live in a glass house, and I can go out and, hang out with my friends on a weekend, or go play golf by myself. Not a lot of kids with my, issue can do that. And I've had to take that's another thing. I have to take my medicine. There's two things that there's a thing my mom says, and there's a thing my doctor says. And the thing my doctor says is, you don't have the luxury to be stupid. And my mom just said, you have to be smarter than the other kids. And, that's just kind of how it's been for me, is I've just had to be smarter. Like, there's no other way about it. And I've just had to be, if my friends are going to do something, I'll drive them, or, I just don't have the luxury. And that's just, like I said kind of before, is I just had to accept it. I've had to be smarter, and I've noticed that what I'm doing is kind of working. So, I'm okay.
And you bring such a great perspective to everything. This has been a part of your life since you were so young. And I think you have a great outlook to continue to just do what you need to do in order to stay healthy. At Living for Zachary, we'll hear the sentiment that if somebody collapses, like, there's really nothing you can do. Just, call 911 and hope that it's going to be okay. What is your perspective as somebody who was saved? Tell us your response to that.
Oh, absolutely not. If there is a person who's collapsed, someone has to take a charge. Because if we waited for the ambulance to arrive, there's no way I'd be talking to you right now. There's no way. You have to respond fast. You have to, respond effectively. So just calling the ambulance and hoping that they can come and save you is not going to work.
Now you've lived through these two terrifying experiences. You've come out on the other side. You're doing well. What are your goals for the future?
I'm so passionate in golf, and so hopefully down the line I can stay in the industry and put what I like to do into work, and hopefully try and share that with some other kid. And if there is a kid that along the way I touch who has some type of heart issue and that has what I have, that maybe that it's not all bad, and that you can find joy like I did.
How did your family become aware of Living for Zachary? How did you get involved, and how has Living for Zachary kind of been a part of your story throughout the years?
So when I first had my event, a buddy of mine who I've known since kindergarten, his parents actually reached out to my parents and said, hey, there's this organization. It's really awesome. It's exactly up y'all's alley. And for me, it's just given me like a group. It's saying, okay, it's not just you, which, for what I have isn't, it's rare to have exactly what I've had. So it's nice to have that kind of there's this whole organization that, has what I have and has had to go through what I've had to go through. And so, I always have my L4Z band. I've got it. It's in all my pictures. It just reminds me that it's not just me.
Especially being so young and going through sudden cardiac arrest, I'm sure you don't meet a lot of kids who have experienced the same sorts of things that you have. So I'm so glad that we can be there as kind of a group to bring you all together and to share your story. And your story and your outlook is really incredible. And it's amazing to see how not only you've come through it, but you're so successful now and you're headed towards such a bright future. So thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, and thank you for L4Z, always being there, and thank you for, let me speak with you and just talk.